Hi guys! In this video I wanted to talk to you about some of the patterns that I have memorized. So I crochet a lot, and since I market prep I make a lot of things over and over again, and I have some go-to patterns that I have memorized. So let's say I'm going I'm going to have coffee with a friend or something and I want to crochet while I'm there, but I want to be able to focus on talking to them and not like reading a pattern the whole time. Then I'll make the items that I have memorized. Also, I just got a walking pad so that I can get some more exercise, and I've started crocheting while I'm walking on the walking pad. And so I use these patterns that I have memorized because I don't want to be trying to read a pattern while walking on the walking pad, because that just might be a little too complicated for me. So at least for starting out, I'm using the patterns that I have memorized. So these patterns I have memorized are mostly smaller items because that's easier to memorize, and also they are some of my best sellers because I've made them over and over so many times that I memorized them. So it's like ones that are kind of easy to memorize but also best sellers. So I will put a picture up of each pattern. I might put pictures up of like the ones that I made and also the like picture of the pattern. And actually a lot of these are free patterns. A few of them are paid, but I think most of them are free patterns. The first pattern that I'm going to talk about is actually the first pattern that I ever memorized, and this is a pattern from All From Jade, and it is the Octo pattern. So this is one that I memorized very early on when I started crocheting, and I've just made it over and over and over and over again, and it's a great pattern. It's a great seller for me, and it was pretty quick for me to memorize it. And then the next pattern is actually another Octo, but this one is the mini Octo. And I believe All From Jade has a pattern that looks about the same, but the one that I use is one that I tested on Ribblr probably a year or two ago. And so I'll have it linked. I'm going to have all the patterns linked in the description below as usual, and it'll be like in the order that I've talked about them in the video. So the mini Octos are even faster to make than the Octos, and I do make quite a few of them. They sell really well for me as well. The next one is the popping mushrooms, and this is a pattern from Cable and Canvas. And this one I sometimes forget it. I don't always have the whole thing memorized, but I will usually, how I make them is I like to make a lot of the top of the mushroom, and then once I have a bunch of those, I'll go back and make the bottom part of the mushroom. So I usually have like the top memorized and I make a whole bunch of those, and then sometimes I'll look back at the pattern and make sure I remember, and then I'll be like, okay, got it. And then I got the second half of the mushroom memorized, and then I'll do that. So sometimes I have to look at it, but it's pretty much memorized. This one's a little harder to memorize, but it's one that I have made a lot, so that's why I usually have it memorized. And this next one is one that did take me a while to memorize, but now I pretty much have it memorized. Every once in a while I'll be like, wait, is that right? And I have to like check it. But it's the Axolotl pattern, and this one is from Crochet Grove, and I think it's the baby axolotl, I think is what it's called. It's like in the family pack. And this one is a little bit of a longer pattern, so it did take me longer to memorize it, but I've made it so much because they sell really well for me. So now I have it memorized. And then the next pattern that I have memorized is my mini ghost pattern, which I have one right here. It is pretty easy for me to remember. I did forget it like since I had made them last year. Then when I went to make the first one this year, I was like, I need to look at it. So I looked at it like once, and then I made it once, and then I had it memorized again. And I've made a bunch of them so far this year. So that one is pretty quick and easy for me to memorize as well. And those do sell good for me during my fall markets. The next one is my mini candy corn pattern. And for this one, it is one that I had memorized last fall, and I have not made one yet. this year, so I don't remember it at the moment, but I'm sure once I read it like once, I'm gonna have it memorized again for this season, and I'm gonna make a bunch of these. I think I only have like 2 left over from last fall, so I'm gonna make quite a few more of these. The next pattern that I have memorized is a little flower pattern, and I make keychains out of them. This is one that I actually saw the pattern first on TikTok, and then about a month later I saw that there was a written pattern on Instagram, so I'll probably link the written pattern because that's probably what you guys prefer. But if you prefer a video, there is one on her TikTok. So this is a super cute little flower, and it's only 2 rounds actually, because the center is 1 round and then the petals are a 2nd round. So it's really easy to remember that one, and I've made quite a few of those. The next pattern that I have memorized is a bandana pattern. I can't remember the name of this bandana, but it was a pattern test that I did, and if you saw some of my videos from this spring and summer, you know that I fell in love with this pattern and I just made a ton of bandanas. So I actually have quite a few bandanas still left over in my inventory that I haven't sold yet. But anyways, they are pretty quick to make. I think it took me about 2 hours in the beginning, and then once I had it memorized, it went quicker than that, like maybe an hour and a half to make it. And it was pretty easy to memorize because you're pretty much just like doing the same thing for most of the rows, except for like the end. So that one I memorized, I think after the 1st or 2nd one that I made. And it has been a few months since I've made one, so if I made one again, I might need to glance at the pattern again. But it's one of those where like once you start it and you're like, oh yeah, and then you got it and you keep going. The next one is one that I don't always have memorized, but it's pretty quick to memorize. When I'm making multiple, I just look at it once and then I can remember it for the next few. But I haven't made them in a while, so I don't really have it memorized now. But it's pretty easy to memorize, so I thought I would put it in here. This is the mini whale pattern, and this is from All From Jade. I believe the pattern is now free on her Instagram, but I bought it the day that it came out. So there's like a mama whale and the baby whales, and so I bought that pack together when it came out. But I do believe she released the mini one on Instagram for free. The next one is another one that I haven't made for a while, so I don't have it memorized right now, but at the time I had it memorized. It's pretty quick to memorize. So this is a mini ice cream cone, and this was another pattern test that I did on Ribblr, and I made a bunch of these. I think I made like 12 or 15 of these. I just like got in the mood and I made a whole bunch of them in like all the different colors for all the different flavors of ice cream, and I really liked making them. But the thing is, they haven't been selling very well for me, and I think it might just be how I'm displaying them. I think maybe if I make some into a keychain and see if that might sell better, because right now I just have them like in a little container and maybe you can't really tell what they are. So I don't know, they're not selling great for me right now, but I don't think it's necessarily the items issue, it's just how I'm displaying them. The next pattern that I have memorized is the mini chick, and I believe the pattern is technically called mini flockers. I've only made it in one color, and the pattern has like a way where you can put like little feathers on their head, but I don't do that part. I just do like a regular flat head. And anyways, I have that one memorized. It is one where I have to check it every once in a while, make sure I still remember it, but I usually do have it memorized, and it's pretty small and pretty quick. And then the last pattern that I'm going to talk about is the bee pattern. So when I was making bees, I tried a bunch of different bee patterns, and I found one that I love, and I can't remember off the top of my head who it is by, but like all the others, it'll be linked. And this one is awesome because it is a no-sew pattern, and I love no-sew patterns. So the wings are actually baubles on this one so that you don't have to sew wings on, which is amazing. And it's pretty quick and easy. It is a little bigger than some of the other patterns, and it took me a little bit longer to memorize it, but it's one of those where I'll look at it once and then I can make quite a few of them. And then if I don't make them for a while, then I'll have to glance back at the pattern again. So that is all the patterns that I have memorized or have had memorized. And I want to know if you guys memorize patterns, or do you always look at the pattern? If you do have patterns that you have memorized, please let me know in the comments, because I want to know which ones they are. And if you're thinking about trying any of these patterns, let me know which ones were your favorite and which ones you've tried or which ones you want to try out. Thanks for watching.